Hello there, everybody. Thank you so much for joining me on my channel today. Today is day 2 of Christy's Beautiful Life, 30 Days of Sketches, Series 8, and it's also day 2 of Scraptember. Each day there's a sketch from Christy's Beautiful Life, and there is a Scraptember prompt. I follow along with the sketch each day, and I'm trying to follow along with the Scraptember prompt. Today, though, I decided I was going to make a Christmas layout. The prompt was black and white, and I just couldn't see how I could make that work. So I decided that I was just going to go along with the sketch and try again using the Scraptember prompt tomorrow. For this layout, I took a strip of 3 small photos of both of my daughters, mainly my older daughter, on Christmas Eve. I am using a piece of heavy white cardstock that I've already gessoed with some white gesso, and I'm applying some sprays to the background. I'm mainly using Tattered Angels Glimmer Mists. I'm using Dragonfly Wings and Bluebell. And I'm just kind of mixing those two together using the packaging technique. And you can see here that I'm doing a little bit more squishing of the color as I'm drying it. Once the sprays have dried, I was thinking that I wanted to add another similar color, but a color that would make there be a little bit more interest in the background because it was slightly different. So I decided to use some Distress Oxide in Salty Ocean. So you saw there that I just put out a little bit of the color, added some water, and once again I'm using the packaging technique. So after I'm done adding a little bit of the color using the packaging technique, I decided I'm going to add some splatters. So I added some splatters of the Salty Ocean using a paintbrush, and now I'm using the glimmer mists. And you can see that I'm really just concentrating the splatters in those same areas where I put the large areas of color. And then I decided to add a little bit of this Art Anthology spray. This is called Siesta. I just love that color. Often when I make a mixed media background, I like to use a large variety of colors that I know are going to be in the layout. Today, I just decided to use this one color and just use a lot of different shades of blue. Looking at the background right now with all of the hues of blue, it almost looks like this might be a summer layout rather than a Christmas layout. What I decided to do was pick a color in the pattern paper that there was only a touch of and highlight that color in the background, and then that would help the background to contrast with the pattern paper that I'm going to be layering on top of it. In addition to splattering the sprays around the background, I'm also splattering some watered down white acrylic paint, something that I do on most of my layouts. I just like the effect that it adds. I then realized that this strip was a little too short, so I fitted in another little piece of paper, and that way I could put the paper on an angle the way it is in the sketch, and then there wouldn't be a gap between the photos and the edge of the paper. So I feel like it matched up pretty well, and I cut it on an angle. The collection that I'm using is a basic gray collection called Eskimo Kisses. I pulled out a whole bunch of different Christmas papers, but I always seem to be drawn to these older basic gray and K & Company papers. I just love the colors, and I love in the basic gray papers the variation in color and the slightly distressed look on some of their papers. Here you can see that I'm using the sketch, and I'm picking out some strips of paper to not only layer horizontally or almost horizontally, but vertical strips as well. And I already had a number of little strips of paper, so I didn't have to cut into any large pieces of paper. I'm trying not to hoard, but it's really hard not to because I'm absolutely sure that it would be very difficult to get these papers again. So I don't want to hoard them, but I do want to use them carefully. I don't want to waste them either. Using the sketch as a guide, I am determining how long I want each of the strips to be, and then I was thinking that inking the edges would make them look a little bit more defined, so I'm using some Distress Oxide in Mowed Lawn and a dauber, and I didn't include all the footage because it was repetitive, but I did go around the edge of each of those strips of paper. Now it's time to attach the strips of paper down, and I'm following the sketch very closely. I'm staggering them the same way that they are staggered in the sketch. And I just keep layering the photos on top just to make sure that I like the way everything is coming together. Whenever I'm trying to line something up or I'm putting something on the background that I'm not really sure about, I just put a touch of adhesive on it. So now I'm going back and I'm adding a little bit more adhesive since I'm sure that those are where I want those strips of paper. And now I'm continuing on to the strips on the right hand side. These are a little bit easier to place because you only see one side of them, whereas the other strips were sticking out on the top and the bottom, and I had to be a little bit more careful about their placement. So I have them positioned, and then again, I'm just attaching them down. The photos that I'm using for this layout are from Christmas Eve several years ago. We always go to my sister's house for Christmas Eve, and before we go over there, my kids always like to give us a present or two, and we give them some small presents as well, just some little things. And my kids are always so excited on Christmas Eve, and I just love the energy from Christmas Eve. So I really love scrapbooking these pictures. It definitely is like the happiest day of the year. Everybody's very energized and excited, and it's a lot of fun. So I have mounted my cluster of photos on some fun foam to pop it up a little bit, and I put some ATG adhesive all across the back to stick it down. And now I'm going through my embellishments and I'm looking for some stars that I could use that would look nice on the end of those strips of paper, and again following very closely with the sketch. I believe the large stars are American Crafts and the smaller ones are Jolie's. I picked both of those sets of stars up at Tuesday morning quite a while ago. I just love those Jolie stars. They're metallic gold. I have a few that are silver too, but for this layout, I thought these gold stars would be perfect. And then in the center, they have some jewels, and I just think that they're so pretty. So again, following the sketch very closely, I'm lining 3 stars up at the top left-hand side of the cluster of photos, and then I have quite a few stars on the bottom of the layout and to the right, and I've placed them at the ends of the strips of paper. On the sketch, there are quite a few different sizes of stars, so I took out this Jolie's set of stars. These are smaller stars that are quite a few different colors. There's some puffy stars, there are some stars that are jewels, and I'm just trialing them around the layout just to try to figure out how I want to balance all of the stars. I really like the idea of having lots of stars, but varying the size and the color too. Now I'm going to begin working on the title, and the title is definitely not an original title. I'm just going to call this page Christmas Eve. So I'm using 2 different kinds of thickers. The thickers I'm using right now are a sparkly, glittery red color, and they have a few little almost script elements mixed in with the letters. So I am using an H that looks a little more scripty and the M as well. And I like the way that looks. I feel like it really goes along well with Christmas. I'm trying to figure out where I want to put the title. In the sketch, the title is on a diagonal right underneath the right side of the photo cluster. So I decided to put mine in the same place. I didn't want to make both words from the same letters, so I went into my stash and I looked for some different letters. I thought green would be a good color. So I pulled out these letters. These are chipboard letters from Scenic Route. I've printed my journaling on some cardstock and then I cut it into strips. And now I'm cutting the strips a little shorter to try to fit those in that area to the right-hand side of the title. But after looking at it for a while, I decided I really didn't like the word Eve. I thought it was too big, and I didn't really like the journaling. So I found some other letters that were a little bit smaller, and just to make sure that the color matches in with the layout, I got out my dauber and the Mowed Lawn Distress Oxide, and I colored the letters a little bit. I found this little, I guess it's a snowflake or star to the left of the word Eve, and I pulled some other stars from that Jolie's sticker sheet, and I decided to add the journaling in a block rather than in those individual strips. I just like the way it looked on this layout a little bit better. So now I'm attaching all that down. Over to the right, you could see that was my little dog's nose. She was just checking out what I was doing. I use ATG adhesive to hold that sticker down. It is chipboard, so oftentimes chipboard stickers don't stick so well. I like that self-adhesive jewel star, that red one. I like that right next to the journaling. And just like the regular chipboard stickers, some of the thickers that are chipboard need a little bit more adhesive to stay anchored down to the page. Then I was thinking that that space to the right of the letter S in Christmas looked a little empty and could use a little embellishment. So I'm using a chipboard star that was in the chipboard pack that goes along with this collection, and I layered another smaller star on top of it. I've been trying very hard to remember to put the date on all of my layouts, so I use a fine liner marker and I put the date on the upper left hand side of the photo cluster, and here are the close-ups. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope you will take a look in the description box and check out all the other scrapbookers who are following along with Christy's Beautiful Life, 30 Days of Sketches, and Scraptember. I hope if you like this video, you'll give it a thumbs up, and I hope you'll join me again tomorrow. Have a great day, everybody. Bye-bye.